and here we go.
Merry Christmas, Pete.
Merry Christmas, Mom.
I think there's one more present for you.
That's his
It's a
real
Manscape
mom.
package with lotions and sprays and trimmers. And where's the lawnmower? Hey, there's a note.
Dear Pete.
Dear Pete, may you have a Merry Christmas and a smooth New Year.
Smooth New Year. And there's whiskers, white whiskers, all the way up the chimney.
Shop now at manscape.com.
Santa gave himself a trim with Pete's brand new razor. I don't think that's so bad. You know, I go to the barber shop and I actually use, the barber uses clippers that he's used on other people. That's the way it is. Okay, so we got a lot to cover today. Let's see what else we got. Let's see over here. Okay, there's the Pete Davidson idea there, and trimmer sales are up 74% over the last 2 years. Men emerged from pandemic lockdowns with months of body and facial hair growth to remove. Yep. I'm trying to grow it back. My poor wife, she likes it this way. She says I look so young. Well, okay. Men are slightly more likely to buy the grooming products. You know, I have them here just so I look so nice and tidy. This is the world's greatest nose hair trimmer from Hammacher Schlemmer. Wow. Wall Products. And I have that handy. I have my very nice scissors, professional type scissors and all kinds of stuff around. So anyway, that's an emerging product. Okay, so now let's see what else we got. There's one from, okay, I'm closing down stuff that, okay, that's Manscape. Okay, A&A ends the Echo Awards. Okay, after 92 years from Ray Schultz. And, oops, I'm on the wrong button here. Boop. Okay, the International Echo Awards were ended by A&A. I saw the association that founded the Echo Awards change its name from the Direct Mail Marketing Association, which is in the article. In 1929, they started the Echo Awards. They changed it from the Direct Mail Marketing Association to the Direct Marketing Association to the DMA and to the Data and Marketing Association. And when they did that, I said this is the beginning, or this is the end of the end. When they were the DMA, I pointed out that their definition of direct marketing was severely flawed. And so here's an article, here's a video I put up on LinkedIn, and we'll put the link in. Why direct marketing is hated and feared. My experience in the general ad agency world was that they really didn't want to know the results of their ad. They didn't want to know the incremental impact because it's difficult to beat a control piece that's been successful for a long time. I almost put up another article from Marketing Week that said that ad effectiveness does not necessarily decline over time. That a good ad is a good ad. Fun to think about. So anyway, when I was in the ad agency world, and this is a video that I did a few years ago. Do I look older in that picture? I think I do. I think my wife's right. They told me they didn't really want to do head-to-head testing. They didn't really want to know. They wanted to win awards, and the ad manager wanted to win awards. So I don't know if you know this, Ray, but I was a judge for the Echo Awards this year, 2022. We did most of our work in January. So I was the last judge of the Echo Awards. And I guess, my belligerence or something put it under. They said, no more of that guy. Although I did actually rate the ads just about, with the normal. My votes did not really change anything because we all kind of agreed on stuff. But I just wanted you to know that if you want to know what your advertising is doing, it's possible. And if you do, you will cause trouble. Your agency won't like it. Your marketing people won't like it. But it can make you a ton of money. Okay, so just want you to know all that. And so let's close that up. Okay, now this is an interesting article. Marketers have a responsibility to climate change. I'm not sure if that's true, but let's go with it. This is from Grace Kite, who I read often at Marketing Week, and Leo Vandensleger. I think that's right. Let's hope so. Anyway, we'll reach out to them. They can comment if they like. Okay, so she starts out with electric cars, EVs. They're greener, right? Well, yes, when they're running. They're not even greener when they're running. They're coal-powered cars. They're only greener in their vicinity. In their vicinity, they don't put out any smoke. Nothing comes out of the tailpipe. But the smokestack is far away, right, where you don't see it, which seems to be a big benefit of electric cars. The big benefit is you don't see the smoke anywhere. But 50% of emissions or 50% of electricity is generated by coal, right? And now we've switched to natural gas, but it's still 90% is not done by renewables. It's not easy to do. It costs you 4 times more for your electricity, and it's intermittent. So you have to have something behind that to put on the power at night and when and I watch a lot of energy related videos. I happen to hold 2 patents, US patents, on taking coal ash and turning it into cement. And cement is one of the largest producers of emissions that mankind has. It's the #1 product that mankind produces in the world. Okay? So I took on the big stuff. I just want you to know that. Did anything come of it? Well, the cement business is it's probably I'm happy I didn't get rubbed out because organized crime has big fingers into the cement business. But there is a way to turn fly ash into cement in a very green, very, very, very green way, which we were able to do, and at twice the strength of ordinary Portland cement. So anyway, so it's not easy to produce electric cars. The batteries and etc. mean that it doesn't start to break even on the carbon footprint until it's gone 5,000 miles. And how many more miles are you going to keep it? We don't know. Even Christmas trees. Trees are renewable, absolutely renewable, and they absorb CO2, although they release it when they decay. So even that isn't right. What about plastic trees? Well, we've had the same Christmas tree for almost, not 40 years, 35 years, I would guess. But the reason we got it wasn't climate change. It was because my wife had so much trouble. We would go to Christmas tree places, and I'd have to keep bringing trees to her and taking her around, and she couldn't decide because the trees were all crooked and stuff. And I knew how to fix a Christmas tree with a drill press. Can you see my Christmas tree? Try and move it into view a little better here. Let's see if I can get it into view. I put that up just this morning, but let's see if I get a little bit of the Christmas tree in there. Yeah, there's just a little. We put it back to here. And there you can see it. Wonderful Christmas tree, Christmas spirit. Here we go. So what should we do? She's got this idea, advertised emissions, which I think are basically man-caused or something, or product-based. I'm not sure. She didn't really define advertised emissions. But COP tracks progress. Okay, and again, don't know what that is. And what we see is that the advertising spend grows in line with the trend. No improvement in carbon intensity for advertised sectors. And here's CO2, probably man-caused emissions, but I mean, the first point is that for every 40 molecules of CO2, there's only 3 in the atmosphere that are man-caused. So if you wipe out 100%, your goal is 50%. If you wipe out 100%, you've only gone from 40 to 37, and it isn't going to go away, right? So it really has none of this has any environmental impact at all. If you want to really, if you really want to ask yourself, does this help? Okay, so what should we do? Well, switching to green energy, as I said, it's already problematic, right? It used to be we should switch because we were running out. We're not running out. We have 200 years of known reserves at extrapolated use rates. So the right answer is to utilize our oil, gas, and coal and then heavily fund. I mean, the oil companies and energy companies pay enormous taxes. What we need is, rather than having the green energy companies pocket it, we need to fund research. Fusion. I'm continually looking at fusion and how it works. But I spent 45 minutes last night, watching a really well done video by a guy on a sailboat who for 5 years now has been using lithium ion, a combination of solar and wind and a diesel power generator. And he said, when the boat was built, they said that you'd probably have to run the generator 4 hours a day. We run it about an hour and a half every 3 days. Okay. If we're on a long passage way out away from shore for weeks, we might run it an hour and a half a day. But still, we're half what they thought we'd have to, because of the solar and wind. But he said, and then someone asked him, what about just going all solar and an electric motor instead of the diesel? And he said, you need to go about 125 miles. If there's a hurricane coming, you need to be able to scoot out in front of it, regardless of the wind. He said, if you go through the Panama Canal, you need to motor. They don't allow you to sail even through the lakes and such. He said, so you need to be able to go about 125 miles. He said, we would need 20 times the solar. We would need 20 times the batteries, and we couldn't fit all the batteries in the boat. So there are limits. And that's important to realize. And that's the pragmatic approach that we need to take. Less meat. Okay. I will put a link to a meat video by a very smart man who analyzes the meat. but Grace, dear Grace, if it explains if everyone goes vegan, what's the impact? But what it doesn't, but what you need to know is that the deserts are shrinking, and partly because of increased CO2, and partly because they've learned that putting cows on marginal farmland reestablishes the soil, and soil degradation in this age of petrochemical fertilizers. You want to know where fertilizer comes from? It comes from oil, mostly. So by putting cows on the land, in marginal cropland, you regenerate the soil. It's much more sustainable. You take the cows away, and they say, well, they use up 600 gallons of water for every pound of beef. Well, right, but most of that is secondary water. It's rainwater. The rain's going to fall and not be used whether the cows are there or not, right? And mainly the rain turns into grass, and the cows eat the grass. They're not lapping up all the rain. Most of it's runoff anyway. So it's a way to reclaim rain. Okay? And guess what happens? It doesn't stay in the cow. It gets peed out, right? And that has its own issues. But the point is a very, 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 very complicated issue. And we need to not legislate all of these industries out of existence because you think that the science tells you one thing when it really doesn't. And I appreciate you saying that the electric cars aren't as energy efficient. I mean, they sound efficient, but half the power from the power plant gets lost in the transmission lines. And so once you get it into the car, yeah, they're 80%. They're 80% efficient compared to 30% for gasoline. But they've already lost half the energy just in electric generation and in transmission. Sorry, whether it's generated by propellers or by coal. But let's say we switch out for meat. Even if it did all that damage, which it doesn't, it's going to save 3.8 million kilograms. Okay? And so I looked up what emissions, what are the human emissions in a year, and it's 10 billion metric tons. So let's say four metric tons compared to 10 billion metric tons. It's not even measurable, even in comparison to just the human emissions, not in comparison to the volcanoes and the release from the oceans and all the rest of it. Oh my goodness, my goodness. And you can read the article at wdma.org, right? Okay, so clickbait sites have huge carbon footprints and advertisers are urged to snub them. And this is just a kind of a funny article from the Drum from John McCarthy. And it explains the amount of carbon emissions per 1,000 impressions. And it varies quite widely. Google and Microsoft and Amazon have moved their server farms out of the United States, out of Washington State, which has incredible environmental policies. Let's just call them incredible. That means not believable. And they moved their server farms up into Canada, where the power is cheaper. And they got more hydro. In Washington State, they ban hydro because it isn't clean enough, because the salmon don't like it. The cleanest form of energy there is practically, and it isn't intermittent, and it's just a wonderful thing. We all know it. But anyway, in human terms, that's the equivalent of 1.35 million passengers from London to Paris. Not sure what that is, but it sounds like a lot to me. It sounds a lot like even more than the beef thing. And I should also mention that there was just a recent article published in Nature that 81 pages, which I'll put a link to in the WDMA show notes, which are available every day after the show. 81-page study in Nature that says nothing wrong with eating meat. Doesn't hurt you. Okay, unlike what we've been hearing for the last 50 years, I would say. Okay, so anyway, lots of facts and figures. Advertising is having a huge hidden toll on the world, and buyers are only now getting to grips with that fact. Okay, 3.7 fully grown trees a year to absorb this amount of carbon. Okay, and print is sustainable. Paper is sustainable. Paper is reusable. Almost 100%. The pre-consumer waste especially is about 100%. Makes great cardboard. So it's not so simple. It's not simple. And so let's not make such crazy, I'm a big fan of recycling. As I said, I hold 2 patents on material that's put into landfills by millions of tons a year. What if we used that? Sounds like a great idea to me. Have tried to change the world. But let's not ban car ads, home energy, red meat, and foreign travel. Because our impact on the climate is not the main issue. The sun controls the climate. The sun controls the storms, and the Earth's magnetic field is weakening, allowing more energy in from the sun. Did you know that the Earth is speeding up? It's going faster. You'd think it would slow down like a top, but it gets more energy from the sun. And that may have more effect than all of our, I was going to say a few body emissions, but let's just say SUVs. For millions of years. Have a great day. I hope this was encouraging. Enjoy your Christmas. Don't be afraid to eat some turkey, or even some beef if you want to. Bye bye.